So it's my belief that the interview segment is one of the most important segments in any pageant competition. But ironically, it's also the segment that often gets forgotten because, well, we just don't get to see it. So out of sight, out of mind. But this year, Miss Universe decided to change all that by revealing the top 16 closed-door interviews. And of course, I could not help it but to go and check them out. But in this video, I'm just gonna focus on mostly the countries who made it into the top 16 that were surprising to me, people who I didn't necessarily see coming or have on my list. So stick around if you want to hear my thoughts on all that and more. Hey pageant fans, it's your girl Theresa K. I'm a pageant coach as well as the creator behind the blog tstanceonpageantry. And before we begin the video, I do want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's been commenting and liking my videos and subscribing. And if you're watching this for the first time and you've not subscribed, please do so because we got a lot of great content coming your way. Now without further ado, let's get into these videos. So like I mentioned before, we are going to be diving into the top 16 with the focus solely on the contestants who surprised me the most in the top 16. So we're going to start things off with Miss Australia. Okay, so Miss Australia is a boxer, so she got asked about how she got into boxing in the first place, and it was a really interesting story. But I noticed that when she initially started speaking about it, it was almost like she was trying to avoid telling the story. And honestly, ladies, I just want to remind you that the interview is there for you to elaborate. It's not the time to be concise and succinct. It is time to elaborate and share those stories with the judges because it's those stories that are going to make you memorable. So she's very lucky that the judge asked her, tell us the story, tell us what happened, because she was being, kind of evasive about it. So basically what happened was she was, I guess you could say she was touched. She was grabbed inappropriately. She followed this guy. She got his information. She reported him. He ended up getting locked up. And it actually turns out that other women had similar complaints about him before, but they had no evidence. And I love this story for her. I really do, because I feel like it shows that she is a transformational leader. She's out there making a difference. She had the confidence, she had the guts, the bravery, the courage to go out and do what so many women probably would not be able to do on their own, because we're talking about following someone and getting their information. The girl is like Gracie Hart. She's a real life Miss Congeniality, and so my hat goes off to you, Miss Australia. So I did feel like at times there was like a moment where she started talking and it just sort of like transitioned, and I kind of don't like that for these closed-door interviews because we don't know what they're cutting out. Like, did she just make a mistake? But like it was like they asked her a question, she started talking, and it just sort of transitioned out, and I was just like, well, we didn't get to hear what she said, so like I don't know how to feel about that, because I feel like now it's being sort of manipulated kind of to not show us everything, and I want to see everything. I want all the details, Miss Universe. She talks about how Miss Universe has given her a voice and a platform, which again is kind of a cliche thing. I hear this so many times when I coach clients, when I listen to girls answer questions on stage. I want every contestant to just kind of like move away from saying, the pageant gives me a voice and a platform. I'm like, we get it, it does, but can we find different ways of not saying that same thing? Find deeper ways of saying the same thing, but without saying it gives you a voice and a platform. You know what I mean? I love that she made a joke about her hairdryer breaking, and the judges, they laughed. And that is a key thing that I want to point out, is that if there's a moment, if the situation presents itself, ladies, insert a little joke. It goes a long way, especially when you are talking about a serious topic. So basically, she was talking about how she was, kind of attacked. And then she talks about her hairdryer breaking. And I feel like that's such a great way to break any tension, lighten the mood, and just put everybody kind of like at ease, So if you can, if the moment presents itself, take it and run with it, ladies. I also like that she talked about, they asked her, like, what did you do during COVID? Which I thought was an interesting question. I like that question because COVID was this phenomenon that the whole world was going through. And so it's really interesting to find out what people were doing during COVID. And for her, she actually said that she started a business during COVID. I think it was a flower business. And I love that. And I wish that we could have gotten to hear her talk about that more, but it seemed like she got cut off. I guess she just ran out of time. So she wasn't able to elaborate on that as much as I would have liked to see her do. So overall, I thought she was confident, she was well-spoken, and she showed herself to be a transformational leader by telling us that story. So I could see why she ended up in the top 16. So, all right, up next we have Miss Canada. So right off the bat, the judges asked her about her organic skincare and sustainability line, and I love this because it's given her a chance to talk about her success as a businesswoman. And, I think when you get these opportunities, ladies, to talk about yourself and to talk about your businesses, take it and run with it. Take it and really just elaborate and give the judges enough to work with, because if you don't speak up for yourself and advocate for yourself in this moment, you have to get comfortable about talking about yourself. And I feel like she did do that. I think she did run with it, and it really showed her passion for research and development. She's even working on like this fabric that's supposed to be sustainable, and I just feel like she was so knowledgeable and just very passionate about sustainability, and it showed. And so I feel like that's a really good thing, is to show your passion. Tell the judges, what are you passionate about? She was asked if she received any criticism for joining Miss Universe, and she said that she hadn't really received any criticism. She said that her Berkeley community, which is where she goes to school, has been very positive, has been very supportive. And then she kind of segued, interestingly enough, into talking about Berkeley and the public school system, which I thought was a little bit off topic, but still, like, the things she had to say was really interesting. I don't know what to do with that, because it doesn't really fit into the question, but I guess what she was trying to do was trying to make this connection between the reason why she didn't get any criticism is because the people at Berkeley, they're so supportive, and that's why she chose to go to public school. I don't know really what to do with that, because it doesn't really, to me, I kind of got lost. I was like, why are we talking about Berkeley at this moment? Something else I wanted to highlight that she did talk about, I think she got a question about, people having this outdated view of pageantry, or thinking that pageantry itself is outdated. And we all know as pageant fans that there are a lot of people who would love to see pageantry go away altogether, because they have outdated views on pageantry. They think that pageants are still just about, facial beauty and dressing up and just being able to walk across the stage in a beautiful gown. And it's not about that. And she did mention that these women have the communication skills and the intelligence to, advocate for, and a passion really to advocate for different causes. I just wish that she had elaborated more on that. I think that there's so much more that could have been said there that she left, unturned, basically. She didn't really dive in as deep as I personally would have liked to have seen her do. She was also asked a question about her culture, and what about her culture is she trying to essentially keep near to her. And she talks about how she mentioned that she was Chinese Canadian and that Canada is a multicultural country. Honestly, I was a little bit let down by her answer in this question, because I don't really feel like she gave the judges much to work with here. She's Chinese Canadian. I want to hear from her, what customs and traditions have her family taught her about maybe her Chinese background that she is still practicing and honoring today. That's kind of what I expected to hear, and I feel like we didn't really get that. Does she speak Chinese? Is there, certain foods that her parents cook and that she's learning to cook? What about her culture is she holding on to for dear life? That's kind of what I was expecting from her answer. But overall, I thought she was sweet, she was endearing. I think she's 21, and to have an organic skincare line and a sustainable clothing line is very impressive. So I can see why the judges would have wanted to put her in the top 16. Up next was Miss Haiti. Now, Miss Haiti did have a translator because I think she was speaking French. I could be wrong, but I think it was French she was speaking. And I just loved her. Can I just say, I just loved her. She talked about being an orphan and how she was able to turn her pain into strength. And I love that. I love that. And I felt like it portrayed her as yet again another transformational leader. Like, wow. And, you know, she really talked about how she wants to show other kids who are orphans that you can become something. You can become whatever you want. You can do it no matter where you're starting out from or where you come from. You can be a success story just like me. That's what I got from her interview, and I love that. And I thought that was such a beautiful and inspiring message for not just children who are orphans, but just people in general across the board. And so, wow, Miss Haiti, wow, that's all I have to say. And I love that she talked about how she got involved with Miss Universe, and, you know, she wants to be a voice for orphans, and she believes Miss Universe to be the biggest platform, which I was like, kissing up to Miss Universe. I like it. And I felt like overall, her talking about wanting to be the voice of orphans really just showed her selflessness, you know what I mean? And shows that she's a woman on a mission, and Miss Universe loves a woman on a mission. She talks about how she owns 3 businesses. So here we go. This is where she comes in with the success story. Listen, the woman is doing great things. She's a restaurant owner. She has a modeling agency, and she has a library that provides books to children who are orphans. I just love her. She's such a success story. She's such an inspiration. And I loved her eye contact, her confidence, and she's so well, put together, and she speaks so eloquently. Like, even though I couldn't understand what she was saying, you could tell, like, she's a very eloquent speaker, and she was just beautiful. And yet again, I was impressed. I was like, yes, I see why she can be in the top 16, send her through. Yes. She really impressed me. Well done, Miss Haiti. I really enjoyed her interview. Now let's move on and talk about Miss Peru. Now, Miss Peru was somebody that was really eye-catching to a lot of people because she's got this beautiful blonde hair and these green eyes. But for her, she received a lot of criticism because she does not look like the typical Peruvian. Her family's actually Italian, but she talked about how her exposure to media from a young age has taught her to not let destructive opinions and comments get her down, which I think is perfect. You know, she considers herself to be emotionally intelligent, and she feels like that has allowed her to manage things a lot better, which I think is a skill that Miss Universe is looking for, because to be a Miss Universe, you have to have thick skin, because people are going to be saying things about you on the internet that may not be so nice, and you cannot allow that to get you down. I think that she right there was demonstrating that she has the skill to overcome people's opinions, and I think that that's a really good trait to have as a potential Miss Universe candidate. Going back to the criticism that she received, she said that this was like the inspiration really for her cape, embracing diversity. And I love that she talked about that. She didn't elaborate on it as much as I would like her to, but I love that she mentioned it in her interview, because then when you see it on stage, you're like, as a judge, you're like, oh, okay, she did mention this. I understand it. I understand where she's coming from, because she's personally had to face so much criticism for not looking like a typical Peruvian. One of her goals, she said, outside of Miss Universe, is to advocate for financial independence for women, which I personally love, and I think most women will love, because, you know, we're still trying to be out here fighting for equal pay for equal work. She also talks about how she's passionate about childhood education and promoting access to childhood education. So I love that, you know. But overall, this could just be me, I didn't particularly feel like her interview was particularly impressive to me. There was nothing really that stood out to me that either tugged on my heart or that made me say that I'm gonna remember her outside of her physical appearance. You know what I mean? So for me, I don't know that I would advance her to a top 16. I'm sorry, Peru. I don't know. Portugal. I really like Portugal. After this interview, I really liked her. And right off the bat, I noticed that she's like energetic, she's outspoken, she's well-spoken, she gave good eye contact. She's very self-aware, and she's also very vulnerable, and I love that. She spoke about her social project, which is Be the Voice of Reality, because, you know, she does suffer from depression and anxiety, and she started suffering from a young age. And she's working to inspire others to accept themselves in their own way. And she talked about her depression and anxiety. I think she said she started having depression and anxiety when she was 5. And that's so young. Oh my gosh, that's so young to be having this kind of mental health issues. But she talked about how it doesn't get her down anymore. And she knows that she has a purpose and that she's a fighter. And she knows how to fight through this disease, and that she has been fighting through it. And she wants to show others, you know, that you can be empowered, and, you know, that it doesn't matter what other people think of you, only what you think of yourself. And I love that. I thought that was a beautiful message. On the topic of leadership, she said that she's a transformational leader of her own life, and that's what she wants to show others. And I definitely think that she portrayed that in that interview. And she just talked about how she overcame and how she really struggled with her depression and anxiety, and how she was able to overcome it, and how she fights every single day. Transformational leader, if we ever saw one. I love that. I thought that, you know, just from the way she speaks, that you can tell this girl has been through it. She has been through it, and yet she's able to stand here with a smile on her face and just be so energetic. Love her. Love it. I loved her confidence. She was a breath of fresh air to me, and her smile was beautiful, and she just genuinely seemed very happy to be there. And ladies, never underestimate a smile and the energy that you can bring into a room, because the judges will pick up on that. And this woman, Portugal, this interview, this is exactly why she made that top 16, because she just seemed so genuinely happy to be in that room and to be there and to voice her message and to talk about her struggles. She did not shy away. She gave us everything. I really enjoyed her interview, and I enjoyed getting to know her. And she's a special woman, and she is an inspiration. So well done, Miss Portugal. Now let's talk about Miss Spain. So she talks about how she has had an eating disorder, and, you know, she's interested in psychology, and she's focused on that, and she wishes that as a teenager she had more guidance. And so I think she wants to provide more guidance for young girls, and she believes that she just had more guidance, she wouldn't have made as many mistakes as she did. And she talked about her struggle in the modeling industry. She talked about how in Hong Kong she was viewed as fat because, you know, her hips were too big. But then when she went to the Philippines, she wasn't viewed as fat. She was viewed as perfectly normal, perfectly fine to be a model. And from those experiences, she realized that, you know, why try to fit in to a place where you don't belong when there is somewhere out there where you do belong, that will accept you for who you are as you are. And this is really where she just presented such a powerful message. And so she recognized that what she thought was a weakness actually was a strength somewhere else. And I love that. That is such a great, powerful message for teenagers, especially, that you don't have to follow the crowd. You can find those people that will accept you for who you are as you are. And I love that. And I thought she delivered that really, really powerfully. She also talks about not pretending to be someone else, you know, and she said she didn't want to pretend. And she talked about how she was getting messages throughout the time she was there at Miss Universe, and people saying that she's not giving enough. She's not giving us that Miss Universe look. And she said that, you know, that's not who she is. She's not a person that's going to dress up and put on eyelashes. She's telling you that this is who she is. This is herself to a T. She is being truly authentic. And I appreciated that. I thought that was brilliant. I loved it for her. She went on to say that if she wins Miss Universe, she wants to win because of who she is and not have to pretend to be something else, because she would have to then, if she won, wake up every single day pretending to be that person that she's not. And that's just exhausting, and she's already been there, done that, and she's not looking to go back. That's a powerful message. Be who you are, stick to who you are, be authentic. She was very confident, she was self-aware, and most of all, she was authentic. And I think the judges they reveled in that and they loved it, and I can see why she made it to the top 6. And last but not least, we have Miss Trinidad. And I love Miss Trinidad. One of my best friends is from Trinidad, so I'm like, low-key, like, yeah, get it, Miss Trinidad. So Miss Trinidad, she talks about rekindling her relationship with her father at 19, and she said that that was a really beneficial experience because it taught her a lot about forgiveness. And I thought that that was really sweet, and I love those little personal moments, those vulnerable moments that contestants share, and I feel like, you know, that's something that is really beautiful, when contestants feel vulnerable enough to share that kind of information. I appreciate that kind of conversation, but I also feel like, you know, there are things that are so sensitive that if you as a contestant do not feel comfortable talking about it, you absolutely do not have to. If it is something that is going to make you become overwhelmingly upset and start to break down to a point where you can no longer communicate with the judges, then you are not ready to talk about it, and you do not have to talk about it. That is something important that I want contestants to understand, is that do not feel pressured to talk about sensitive topics if you know within yourself you are not ready. But if you are in a place where you've healed and you are able to talk about it, then go for it, because I think it can really help make you stand out in the interview. It certainly allows the judges to get to know a different side of you, and feel connected to you, because that's what the interview is all about. It's about that personal connection and how well you can communicate and connect with those judges. So she talks about how she's pursuing a master's in social work and that she loves it, and that she feels like being a social worker is allowing her to become a professional change agent. And you can tell that she really loves working with children, which is what she does. She works with children and she tries to find meaningful ways to make a difference in their life. And you can really see that she loves what she does, and I love that for her. And anytime contestants can speak with passion and conviction, I'm sold. I'm really sold. So one thing that I thought was interesting, which is a question that they asked her, is, why do you think you'd be the best candidate for Miss Universe? And she actually said that she did not think that she was the best candidate for Miss Universe. And I thought, this is an unusual answer. Like, I was not expecting that from her. And this is kind of bold. Where is she going with this? So that kind of caught my attention. So I was like, where are you going with this, Miss Trinidad? But like, what's going on here? She talks about building a platform for others who need the light and can benefit from it. And basically kind of what I got from what she said was that she realizes that she does not need to be Miss Universe in order to effect change and to make a difference in the world. And so I guess that's why she was saying she doesn't think that she's the best candidate. She was Miss World Trinidad in 2019, and so they asked her, what did you gain out of losing? And she talked about how when she was like 3 years old or something, her mom said that she was going to be the next Miss Universe, and around that time was when Wendy Fitzwilliams, who actually turned out to be a judge this year. So I thought that was interesting that she mentioned that. They asked her about being a volleyball player and kind of like what she's learned from being a volleyball player. And I liked her answer for this. She talked about how she learned that she's not the star of the show, and it's really about, you know, a team effort and depending on your teammates to get the job done. And she even made this cool analogy about jazz, which, you know, New Orleans is all about jazz. So she talks about everyone playing their own instruments, and the instruments, you know, all have their own sound, but it all comes together to make one beautiful piece of music. And I felt like what she was trying to communicate to the judges was that, you know, as a potential Miss Universe, she understands that it is not about her. It is about them as a team working together to further the Miss Universe brand, and just working to promote Miss Universe. So I felt like that was a good thing to say, and a good way to like show that she understands what it means to work collectively, and she's a team player. So overall, I liked her interview. I thought she did well. Would I have put her into the top 16? I don't know. The jury's out on that. I don't know if that was a strong enough interview. I mean, I really liked when she talks about the social work, and so I guess her passion for that would have gotten me. So maybe I would have put her into the top 16. I wish there could have been a little bit more from some more of those answers that she had given us. That's all the time I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it. Comment your thoughts, your opinions. As always, please keep it respectful. And until next time, be sure to subscribe so you won't miss out on any content. And I will see you guys on the next video. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have a great week.